Hello all, it's Paul again. This is for part D on the SBE Sidebander that we've got on the bench. I'd like to say thank you to all those technicians out there that were able to talk me through this one and in the end get to the point where we've resolved the issue, which was on minimal volume. There was a lot of crackling coming through the speaker and it was interfering with received signal noise. All right. What did we find out and how did we resolve it? All right, so the area of concern is up here in and around the transistor, which is a 2SD187 or Q601. There's also various diodes in and around this area here as well. Obviously there was a problem with this in the past because it's had a bit of soldering in there. Some of the issues that I've found were that, okay, so the first one, there's a diode down here, which is diode 602, which is a 1N4448. It was pretty much out of the through hole that it was meant to be in. It was just touching. The other thing, I'll show you what caused all of this on the 2SD187. Here's the part. I'll zoom in on it. That's how I pulled it out of the board. The base emitter and collector were actually touching, and what got me originally was that the markings didn't line up with the board on the other side. And so once I got it out, it was all explanatory, and I put in another one from a parts radio and it's working beautifully. Why this was twisted around, it was nearly 3/4 of a turn. I don't know. I don't understand why someone would do that. And it was also quite high out of off the board. So it may have been that someone put it in and for whatever reason twisted it. Now I replaced all the caps around here in this area, and that's what raised the issue that we have here, because I had to move this just to get access to some of the readings on the board for these caps, and in doing so I just shorted out those three legs that had been twisted together. So sometimes bad luck is actually good luck, because you get to resolve a problem. Now I'm going to flip this over. I've still got to put all the loom binders back on this, but officially this radio is I believe close to finished. So we'll just flip it over. So this is just a schematic of the audio amplifier circuit. The first thing that I did was, after talking to several people, went through all the caps that I put in, all the electrolytics, checked the polarity was correct, which they were. Then I went through and had a look at the diodes, and I stopped at D602 when I found that it was so far out of the board. And in moving the 2SD187 when it was in the board, just rocking it backwards and forwards, it was having an effect, just a very minor one. So my fix for that was I went through underneath, did a solid heat up of the board of each of the legs, and it actually quietened it down. So it may have, I think my answer to that is that it relieved tension on those legs. So anyway, gone through and replaced it. The results are good. And then I've just finished cleaning the board with IPA. So I do that once I get to a point that I'm happy with all of the tune of the radio. I also replaced this jumper because it was straight tight. I was a bit worried. I like to have these slightly off the board, so I solder and raise those. But if we can go through, this board is now clean. And what I do is I clean it with IPA, scrub it, and then dab it with a microfiber cloth, and that takes all the shine off the solder, and it sort of makes it as neat as you possibly can. You'll never return it back to the factory look. But there we go. All right, so what are we doing now? We're going to plug in the antenna. Okay, it's done. Zoom out slightly. So if you can remember, there was a lot of noise. There's the speaker. There's no crackling at all. It's really hard when there's nobody on. Anyone give us a quick radio check, please? Oh, thanks, mate. Just Paul again in Berwick. Well, there we go. We're going to just put the covers back on, tidy it all up, and very happy at that. And thank you to all those people that provided input. It always is helpful. Remember, you can do it, and thank you very much, guys. Cheers.